And now, Jabroni Studios, in association with Big Herm Productions, is proud to present to you, recording from an undisclosed location in Oakdale, Connecticut, it's Chris Burns, it's Chris Lynch, this is Dysfunction Junction.
Welcome to another edition of the CNN Town Hall. I'm Anderson Cooper. With us tonight is Michael Herman and Christopher Lynch, and we'll be talking about all things fucked up that went on this week, as I say to you, our beloved dysfunctional family. Welcome to Dysfunction Junction.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
My name's Chris Burns, not Anderson Cooper. With me, as always, is our Duck Dynasty hero.
Chris Lynch.
Wow, you sound like you're happy to be Chris Lynch today.
I am.
All right, well, there you go. And, of course, the producer extraordinaire, the man with no hair, the maker of beautiful briskets that he teases us with pictures in the group chat. It is Big Herm, Michael P.S. Herman.
What is up?
Yeah, I really wanted to fucking slap you last night when you sent that picture.
Which one?
So pulling out the grill.
Oh, yeah.
And putting the seasoning on.
It was nice. That was
and throwing it on the grill.
Yeah.
You worked the late shift.
That's right. That's right. It's about that nightlife, baby.
I
kind of get a kick out of that when he shares those cooking videos and pictures and stuff.
Oh, I do. I appreciate it. It's just I just get jealous because I'm so far away.
No, I'm the other way. I'm not a fan of the pictures of the finished product because that's the part that I want to eat.
I'll eat that fucker raw.
You would, wouldn't you?
I'll eat that fucker raw. I'll pay for it later.
All right.
You are a sick son of a bitch.
What is that trichinosis you get from pork?
Yes, there actually hasn't been a case of trick since like the late 20s, early 30s, actually, since the federal government outlawed recooked slop.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's the shit you learn here with us, kids.
We learn something new every day from Herm. I mean, he is our culinary expert of the panel.
See, and he knows how many baskets of fries a 6-pound bag of French fries from McDonald's will fill.
That's the problem is I gotta find that out and figure it out because
No, I think it was one bag does 4 baskets.
Was it? I thought it was one bag went over 4, and then another bag went over 4.
That's what I just said. One bag would fill 4 baskets.
Right, but I thought it was 2 bags. So I thought you used one bag and filled 4 evenly, and then took a second bag to add to those 4 evenly.
I don't remember that.
So you'd get 12 baskets per case. I'm not.
You guys are speaking a foreign language to me.
I know.
But I appreciate it anyway.
Mike just wants to get Mick technical with us.
I do.
Get off your Mick fucking high horse, motherfucker.
That's right.
McDonald's, Ronald and you.
Oh my Lord, he went old school.
I did. You know, I was thinking about those. How much do we miss the old school commercials from the late 70s, early 80s? Commercials aren't the same anymore.
There's a ton of them that were just in regular rotation, not even special Super Bowl commercials. They were just, that's a spicy meatball, or, where's the beef, or
Lego my ego.
My brother.
Brisket boy.
Fucking hate you. There was one that my brother was singing when I was down in Florida, and I couldn't remember it to save my life. And then, of course, I went to the Google machine. It was a sprinkle a day helps keep odor away. Have you had your sprinkle today? And I'm like, what the fuck?
Shower.
Thank you. But I had to go to the Google machine.
It was shower to shower.
Yeah.
That's the damn.
Basically,
right?
It's called wash your ass. Stop using this powder. The shit we would do in the 70s to avoid water.
Not go to the beach.
Yeah, pretty much.
Stay indoors.
Beach.
No, the beach was I liked to go into the beach as a kid.
Oh, as a kid, I don't like it now.
Nah, you get sand everywhere.
You guys are killing me.
Sand and crevices I didn't know I had. Sand in your fucking sandwich. Sand in your car.
Mm-hmm. Takes you a week to vacuum it out.
Oh God, it's horrible. It's just horrible. I like the beach from the deck. You know what I mean? That's That's kind of the guy I am. I like the beach and the ocean from the deck of the vacation house. That's how I like the beach.
I will stay on the boardwalk and watch the bikinis walk by, but I'm not stepping in the sand.
You know, like that's the thing. I will sit on the deck with my wife drinking frosty beverages, and my wife will point the asses and tits out. So I've got the best of both worlds. So I like the beach from the deck.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of sitting at a nice restaurant, staring off into the water in the beach, having a nice meal.
Yes,
and
with,
my Diet Coke.
Something solid under my feet and no dirt or seagull shit in my food. Yes.
And no creepy crawlies sneaking up on you. Because that shit would suck.
That's a lovely sound.
Oh, man, I am feeling worse off than I thought I was. So I want to jump right in because Herm wanted to talk about the college campus. Here we go. Splash around, fight your friends. Fun like this is always in. Now, see, people who watch this in the elsewheres of life won't understand that, but we do.
Whatever the second one is, something, and jump.
Yeah, who cares? Yep.
You make shit up.
Well, it's like every now and again I'll pass by the truck of a particular company and I will earworm the shit out of you guys. And you like what you see.
And you'll pay much less for
quality.
Sing it.
Do your shopping at Gorin's
Furniture.
49 New London Turnpike, Norwich Town.
There it is.
Okay, so yeah, that goes back to what Lynch was talking about. The commercials from your youth. They're like, kids don't have those jingles anymore.
Big loader. That was my favorite. I liked the big loader. My mother bought me that for like one of my birthdays, like when I was like mid-40s. She bought me that big load. Well, originally it was the big loader, but then that year it was couple of years they brought it back as the big loader. It was a little bit bigger set, and my mother bought it for me. That was some good shit. I loved that fucking thing.
I mean, you don't even have to have jingles to have a memorable commercial because Ironhead Hayward will live right here in my heart forever for introducing me to the Thingy. I'm Ironhead Hayward. You got to try Zest Body Wash. But Ironhead, aren't body washes for ladies? No, this doesn't have heavy moisturizers. What's with this thingy? I still to this day call it a thingy.
It's a lather builder.
That's right. So you can get cleaner and more refreshed while he's running people over.
Great stuff. What was the other thing I really loved is they did the slot cars, but it was the semi trucks.
Okay.
Those are really cool.
It was the US one by Tyco, but it was the US one system, and that's what it was. It was dump trucks and semis with trailers and all kinds of shit that you could buy. Depots. I had all kinds of shit set up all over the fucking room. Little fucking towns moving shit and construction. It was great. Loved that shit.
And while he was playing with those toys, he's singing, "Here comes Wrangler. He's one tough customer. Knows what he likes when he sees it."
Yo, I mean, and who could forget? And who can forget Stompers?
There you go. Oh man,
the fun you could have for just a AA battery.
Oh yeah, and the ones that had the slot in the back where you could put a quarter, so it did the constant wheelie.
Those are penny racers.
Okay, thank you.
We had penny racers. Those are like the original micro machines, little friction cars. Yes, sir.
And who can forget the dude that talked a million miles an hour, and he did a lot of commercials for Federal Express.
What's his name? But yeah.
He did micro machines too.
He was the micro machines guy. He was the fastest talker on the planet.
Yep.
At the time.
Hi, I'm Joey Zuzu.
And then Busta Rhymes came along and completely wrecked his motherfucking white ass.
And how many times during a day, and I know I say it, my daughter says it, even though I don't think she's ever seen one of these commercials unless it was some retro throwback show. Well, time to make the donuts.
Right. Like Fred. We knew Fred.
That's right. And he comes through the door.
When they started them up, they're even better than yours.
Where's Wanda?
Everybody
don't squeeze the Charmin.
Everybody take their blueberry muffin at Dunkies for granted, but we were young. We were 7-8 years old when that shit was invented.
Mm-hmm.
When we was kids, Wendy's only had 3 burgers and the kids menu but you had salad bar.
Mm-hmm. And the menu at McDonald's was this big, and now it takes up 5 or 6 translate screens.
Yeah, it's like 8 monitors wide.
Right? Do you need a minute to order?
No.
I need a half hour.
See you tomorrow.
For real.
So anyway.
Yes.
Jumping back into the topic.
Fuck that.
Fuck those bitches.
I don't know how to address this topic correctly because I know I'm going to have a lot of pointed opinions. But
which one are we talking? The
college campus protests, if you will.
So the topic we're jumping into is the ramp up of what we're seeing is either or both anti-Semitic or support for Palestine. I understand you can do one without being the other. I'm just saying it is possible, and I get it. But we're seeing a ramp up and an escalation in the level of ferocity that they're willing to protest with. You've got a lot of kids on, it's Columbia, so it's not like it's an unknown liberal college. But these kids that can afford to go to Columbia are foregoing the accommodations, the housing that they have paid for or somebody else has paid for, and are opting to live in tents on the quad. Just like to say, congratulations, guys. How lucky is it for you that you have the choice to give up a living space that somebody else has paid for, so you can go buy gear and tents and what you need to live like the homeless on the quad. What a lovely sentiment. That people that you're fighting for don't have the same thing. I think it's a little seems a little entitled to me, and I don't like to use that word a lot because I feel using it it's used too much and it takes away its value.
Why is Lynch appearing and reappearing like a specter?
I
got my virtual background.
Green screen, but without the green screen.
Gotcha.
So his hat colors are very similar to the colors around him, so they lose him when he dips out.
I want a fucking green screen.
But yeah, I mean, like you've got a kid that none of the kids really know any of the history of Israel. The kids are unfortunately getting all of their information now from some form of social media, whereas there's no accredited news source of any kind being consulted. I don't know. I think we got to do something because I feel it's disrupting the people that want to be there to learn that environment. Like I've got to go to school worried about whether or not somebody knows I support Israel and they're going to take me out. I don't know. You're going to have to do something because those people that are paying and want to go and be there have the right to do that too.
Well, what kills me.
Go ahead.
What kills me is I saw a piece on the news last night. A college professor who was being told you can't go into your own classroom. He's like, my material is there. I want to be here. I have the right to be here, and so do these students who want to learn. Why are you not allowing the few students that are here right now who want to go on campus and fucking learn? Because these other twats are making it a dangerous, volatile situation. It's like they want to bring violence upon themselves to see, oh, see all these Jews are violent. They want to solve this with violence. And then you have these queers for fucking Hamas, gays for Hamas. Okay, Ace. If you were in Palestine and you came out with your rainbow fucking shirt on, sucking a dick, you know what they do? They fucking shoot you.
Well,
or they throw you off a building, or they would jail you.
You guys say that constantly, like, to be honest, like it means something, but really, it doesn't. And here's what I'm saying. Just because somebody else feels a certain way about me doesn't mean I have to feel a certain way about them. You are, unfortunately, that's being a good Christian. Just because they hate me doesn't mean I hate them. There it is. There's another lesson. There's the same lesson that everybody wants to use, but they can support anybody they want to support for whatever reason. I don't have to agree with it, but just because they hate me doesn't mean I have to hate them is a very strong statement.
The point I'm trying to make with that,
most religions.
The point I'm trying to make with that is that if they took the time to educate themselves about what Hamas stood for and what Palestine stood for, that wouldn't even be a thought, because they don't give a shit about them.
Well,
Palestinians don't care about them.
But these kids also, in return, don't care about how Hamas feels towards their sexual orientation. Everybody else fucking hates them half the time, so why should they give a fuck that Hamas does too?
No, I see that side of it, but
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, I'm just
throwing out a third
as
wheel
you always do, and I appreciate it. But this also correlates to this Just Stop Oil protesters gluing themselves to the fucking tarmacs and gluing themselves to the road, having their fucking hands amputated because they glued themselves to a fucking piece of highway, and they can't come unglued. And they're stopping normal people who have normal lives and jobs to get to and things to do during the day because they don't like the fact that we use oil in 90% of anything petroleum based in this fucking country. The plastics in your glasses, the plastics in your phone, the plastic bottles that you consume and buy every day, even though you say you're not a capitalist, you don't agree with capitalism, you want to be a fucking socialist. Well, guess what, sweetheart? Everything you touch in your life has some sort of fucking plastic or oil in it. Come up with a fucking solution before you become the problem. Give me a fucking valid solution to stop producing crude oil.
Just to go to your point for a minute, when people do this, I said it in the chat earlier, that when there's two diametrically opposing thought processes with what they're doing, the same kids, young people, college students, the rich that are getting richer and are camping out on these lawns to try to, whether it's Hamas or capitalism, or now the big thing is white European colonizers, are the same ones driving an electric car thinking they're saving the environment when it's full of lithium and uranium, drinking their $9 Starbucks coffee in their $30 Stanley Cup, but they don't get it.
They don't understand. They go with whatever buzzwords and catchphrases they catch on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. They don't understand the real problems. That's the problem I have.
Yeah.
Educate yourself as to what the real root of the problem is. You know what? Oil is a finite resource. We are going to run out of oil sometime, not in our lifetime.
No.
Not in the three of our lifetimes. Maybe not even in our kids' lifetime. Generations down from us will run out of oil. And there does need to be alternate sources for fuel. I agree with that point. But the government and big oil have put the kibosh on just about everything from the 1930s to the present day. And the only reason electric cars are the big deal now is because these politicians are getting their pockets lined from all these special interest groups to push through and get rid of all petrol operated vehicles by the year 2030. And just like you said, Herm, the other day, and this is something else I want to talk about, is about getting rid of the Speaker of the House. Every time bipartisanship does its job, they have to throw a fucking hissy fit. If you're in it for yourself or you're in it for the people.
4 years ago, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
And having a timeline defined by 2030 that we're going to get rid of all gasoline and diesel powered equipment is asinine and unrealistic. It's asinine and unrealistic.
It is. It's a nice pipe dream. I mean, let's be honest.
Sure.
It's a beautiful.
The actual enactment of that and what is required on we don't have the electrical.
We don't have the resources,
infrastructure in this country to produce and to do that. What was it?
We don't have it in the world.
They went to make an electric car company and building and plant, and they came up with, I don't remember who it is, and don't quote me on a source, but basically the amount of energy that it was going to take to make the factory run was more energy than the city produced.
You killed the grid.
It on a large scale format, we are completely unprepared. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have, and guess how do you make electricity, folks?
Got to burn fuel or have some sort of turbine
fuel. So, God forbid you build another couple more nuke plants in the planet because
so I can look at certain people that bring up just staying on the electric powered cars and all that stuff. I dig the concept.
I do too.
I don't like it being shoved down anybody's throat. And when you have someone who has a brain in their head trying to explain this and say, what this will do will cut down carbon emissions by X amount of percent, and it'll do this, 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 and this. And then you have morons like AOC who come out and just make shit up because she's dumber than the shoes that I'm wearing. And you listen to her. Okay, because I'm a big fan of picking on both sides. Another one that does this stuff, speaking out of her own asshole, is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah,
that woman hasn't told the truth in years.
Jewish space lasers.
Yeah, the Jewish space lasers.
Did you hear that?
Space rabies.
They're trolling that shit. They're trolling with that shit now.
It's come back, yeah.
Starting to troll with it. They just read a new bill, and it was something, and it was money for something, and I think it was aid for Israel and
Ukraine, and Taiwan.
And in the bill, it listed money for defense, money for this, money for this, money for space lasers. Literally, they're trolling and writing that shit into some of the prospective bills now. It's kind of funny, but yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Jewish space lasers.
Mm-hmm. 4 years ago, just about, when Biden wins the election. First of all, if you're an election denier, you're in the wrong place. But we were told by Nancy Pelosi, who was probably drunk when she said it, the adults are back in charge. I've yet to see any one of these supposed adults say anything close to being adult on either side, with the rare exception of a few. They're all acting like petulant children. When they did the motion to vacate on the last Speaker of the House, and then Mike Johnson takes over, and he was almost unanimously voted in. Now they want to get rid of him because they got a wild hair across their ass because they didn't like something he said. And if you know anything about this, it takes one person.
I was just going to say, it's not even a they. All it takes is one person to be miffed, and they can bring it up. Like it doesn't even take a committee.
But whereas, and I can't remember his name, who got ousted, but Mike Johnson comes in, a damn near unanimous vote.
Was it McCarthy?
McCarthy, thank you.
Yeah.
And now Mike Johnson has pissed somebody off, and now there's another motion to vacate. They're acting like children, stomping their feet because they wanted McDonald's and every other kid in the car wanted Burger King.
Well, This is what Congress is supposed to do.
Well, it's not
supposed to
even
be
that. It's that
bipartisan.
one team wants McDonald's and one team wants Burger King. So they put half a McDonald's burger and half a Burger King burger on the plate. And
No, I want it all. I don't want half.
somebody's mad they didn't get the whole burger. That's literally it. Like they've made it like they made a compromise, and which is the entire point of the legislature and both houses. And now you can't, because you have to be afraid that one asshole is going to try and have you removed, because they can.
Which I think is ridiculous. I mean, it should come up to a quorum of a certain amount of people.
Well, it completely slows everything down. It brings everything to a screeching halt.
And they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose to get to throw their little temper tantrums when, oh, I'm sorry, we did our jobs and we came to a decision together that was amicable for both parties. I mean, come on. It just shows you, like you said the other day, Herm said that I'd rather know that they're not doing it for us and they're just doing it for their own interests. I would respect that more if somebody said that. I wouldn't respect the person, but I would at least respect the effort that he or she would actually take to say, I'm not in this for you guys. I'm doing this for myself.
I would have been on both sides. I hear the same thing. What they accuse the other side of doing is exactly what they're doing.
Right.
They're just hiding it.
And it's the same thing with these kids who are protesting Hamas, or pro-Hamas or anti-Israel. You, by saying that you support a terrorist, a proven terrorist organization called Hamas, by proxy, you're saying all Jews should die. By proxy. You don't have to say it because you don't understand the sentiment behind what Palestine stands for. From the river to the sea. That means all that land is theirs. Palestine's. That's what they want. That's the vision they have in their head. Israel is no longer a state. It doesn't exist. Think about that, kids. Think about that before you pick the side that just basically is for genocide. What Hitler did to the Jews. Common thread, Jews. Because it's the Holy Land, and they don't agree with it. Israel has given up more real estate since 1930 to present day that, I mean, it's a third of the size it was when it became a recognized state. And that's sad.
Yeah, in trying to keep peace.
And they're doing it because they want to keep peace. They don't want this game. They don't want nice try, Iran. This is your one and only warning. As all the space lasers knocked all your shit out of the fucking sky.
I'm gonna die.
Sorry. Yeah, my allergies have been horrible this season. I mean, you know who I stand for? What I stand for? Peace. And if that peace has to come at the cost of some lives, that's called collateral damage.
One of my biggest things.
If you want to fight a war, you have to accept the collateral damage.
Correct.
And what Israel is doing it the right way, kinda.
There are 2 points that these protesters make, or these loudmouths, or whatever you want to call them, whether on the college campuses or online and in daily life. The first thing is, be kind, no racism. And you're basically saying there's an entire Judaism is a religion, but they're also a race of people. They're the one group that can actually say that they can do both things at once.
Right.
To be fair.
Right.
We hate racism unless it's against them, which is bullshit. And the second is, I mentioned it earlier, the white European colonizers. If you ever read a book, there's not a land on this planet that hasn't been fought over or conquered or what have you since day damn one. But because right now, anti-white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, whatever you want to call it, is so high, it's easy to point that finger and go, oh, look, everything started with the European colonizers, as if they started slavery. This country had the least time on the planet having slavery be legal.
It's still legal in some countries.
Correct. I was getting right to that point. Good job. I love the fact that you brought that up.
I don't understand where people have this breakdown of understanding. America, we were the most exposed to slavery, and because we fought a war over it. No other country has really done that. No other country has taken that stand to say, the North saying slavery ain't right, we're getting rid of it, and the South saying fuck you, we want our slaves.
You know,
and it wasn't just guess who brought the slaves to America? It wasn't white people.
They partially were involved. Their own damn people.
People are the ones that rounded them up under the cloak of darkness, put a bag over their fucking head, shoved them in the bottom of the boat like the Amistad, and shipped them over here. Their keepers were black.
Mm-hmm. And it was.
Blame anybody? Blame yourself.
It was very, very much a class system where the rich in those countries sold the poor to, whether it's the Europeans or the Chinese or whomever, they sold their own people. But the problem isn't that history exists. The problem is you can't bring up history to certain people because it's an inconvenient truth that they don't want to listen to.
Well, and it's a good way to shut down the argument as well, because they have no recourse for it. They have no response. They don't understand. They don't know the story. And it kills me that when you see guys like James Klug and Charlie Kirk at these. James Klug does on the street stuff, and Charlie Kirk, you know what Charlie Kirk is the university course. And it's always the same thing. As soon as he brings up a simple question like, what is a woman? Or do you know this?
Or how am I racist?
Or explain to me how I'm being racist. They can't articulate an argument counter to what Charlie is trying to presenting to them, because they just don't know. They're going based upon buzzwords.
Yes. Do you remember the young lady, Caitlin Bennett, who did those videos?
I did.
And she was, the video was wildly popular. She was talking to a young lady on a college campus who said, if you vote for Trump, you're a white supremacist.
You're a racist.
Yeah, and she goes, how? You know, this is my best friend / producer. He's a black man. This is this person. This is this person. Well, you voted for Trump. You're a white supremacist. So she turned the table. Well, did you vote for Biden? Yeah. Well, then you're a pedophile. You like to sniff children.
Yeah.
No. Well, you can't have it both ways. You don't get to make a wildly bald accusation without something to back it up. That's like me saying, and I can only say this to Herm because I know the history. If somebody said to me, Herm is racist, I'd say, prove it. Better have good facts, because that's the least racist human being I know.
I saw you were talking about slavery. I saw this really funny comedy thing on YouTube talking about the Egyptian pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
In Egypt, has to be aliens. They had help. But when you go down and look at Montezuma and you see the Mexicans built those pyramids, you don't question it. And the crowd just goes fucking nuts. They just fucking laugh at. You don't question the work ethic of a fucking Mexican, do you? We get the job done. And it's kind of the same thing where it, because of the, I'm at this stature, I'm right, and you can't be right because you don't have what I got. Am I there?
Yeah,
you're there.
You're the have-nots, and we're the got-it-alls. I mean,
but at that point, they're just standing. They're standing on ceremony.
Well, they're standing on an empty argument. In order to have an intelligent and articulate argument for and against something, you have to come with facts for or against, and you have to have some sort of documented proof. These kids don't do that. They see a thing on YouTube. I'm hitching myself to that fucking wagon because that sounds like right up my fucking alley.
It's a lot like.
I don't have to put any effort into learning anything about it, and I can just blah 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 run my mouth about something I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about.
I have a really, really good friend who has decided he's taking the plunge into the rabbit hole of flat Earth. Here we go again with my favorite group to pick on, fucking flat earthers.
I got to be honest with you, Chris. I've been poking that bear for a little bit too.
I will kick you in the dick.
I'm not saying the Earth is flat. I just want I listen to their arguments.
So do I, and there's nothing there.
Damn, one of them got shit proof. It's always the same thing. Always the same thing about look straight line. What? How come they got a curve like this? They don't curve like this.
One of their biggest, I guess you'd say, celebrities in that world, just recently passed away last year, but was part of that documentary on Netflix, and went out. Him and a couple guys bought a $20,000 ring laser gyroscope because we're going to prove that there's no Earth and curvature and it doesn't rotate. So they turn it on and it immediately picks up a 15 degree per hour drift. So now we're going to encase it in lead because I think it's measuring the, what do you call it? The motion of the sky rather than the motion of the Earth. And they encase it in lead. And what happens? It picks up a 15. Bingo. My biggest thing with flat earthers, much like these college kids or just the incredulous idiots that make these wild, wild claims, they never prove their point. They tell you to disprove them. Exactly. And for all these years,
every time something does prove it, there's a reason that it's doing it. It's not right.
Yeah, you don't know.
Something must be wrong.
Something's wrong with the equipment.
You're doing it wrong.
It's like all these fucking paranormal people. We didn't catch anything,
Yeah.
And we didn't hear. We heard nothing, and we got a machine that we say measures something, and look, it moved. But same thing. Like you got nothing, bro. You got nothing.
You stare at my dick long enough, it'll move too.
Right?
I'm not doing any of that. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things, and it's not just. And I like to pick on the flat earthers because they're flat earthers, and well, you can't prove the globe. I'm like, you made a positive claim. This is how this works. If you make a positive claim, it is up to you to support it. It is not up to the rest of the world to debunk it. And these college kids, like you mentioned, Charlie Kirk or Matt Walsh or Caitlin Bennett, Ben Shapiro goes out there and says, okay, you've made this claim. Show me how this works. Well, no. What you've told me is what you think. Tell me what you know. Prove it. I'll listen.
One of my favorite things to watch now is the Abolitionists. He's a young guy. I like his message, and it's not just about abortion. To me, although that is his platform, it just proves that people, when challenged with certain questions, and the people who say it's okay to just abort a baby whenever, and they go through the technical terms, and they always go, "You just called it a child, right? So which is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it nothing until it's born into the air, or is it a child?" Because in their own head, they're trying to keep their own story straight, and they fuck up when they go to the technical terms and start calling a spade a spade.
I forget who it was years ago. I forgot who it was years ago. Argued the point that when Scott Peterson was found guilty of killing his wife, he got rung up for killing his wife, and I forget what the charge was about the kid. But it was not manslaughter, but I don't remember what it was. But when you kill your own baby, it's okay. And I'm not talking about early abortions. Look, I've been over this about 1 million times, and I'll go over it 1 million more times. I think there should be a limit. I don't think a late-term abortion is ethical because that is now a baby just waiting to emerge.
What's late?
8 months, 9 months, day of.
I don't care. Well, day of, okay.
It's happening. It's disgusting. And the process is brutal. Babies can feel pain at 6 months. Now you're either shoving a needle into their, what is that,
Neck.
cortex?
Yeah,
Help me with
right.
that.
Back of the neck, right?
Yeah.
Right in the old,
Like you do with a dog that's 18 years old, has one good leg and smells like a shoe. You put it down. Why? Because that's the right thing to do. I don't think that at that term that's okay. But to hear these people bitch, and I go back to the COVID thing with that. Well, it's my body, my choice. Sure, it is. Okay. But you have another body in you. And when I heard all the things about the vaccines, if I want to get a vaccine, I will. Because the vaccine doesn't protect you guys if I get it. It protects me.
Me, if I get it. And that was the other part of the whole lie about, get it, you won't get COVID. Well, you will. You just won't get it as bad.
Right.
You can still catch it. You can still get the flu after getting a flu shot. You're just not going to, depending on the strain, if it's a strain you were inoculated for, it'll be a day of the sniffles and maybe.
We all get our inoculations as kids. I had a friend who got we all got the measles shots and all this stuff and measles, mumps, rubella, yada yada. You know what he got when he was 8 years old? The fucking measles.
I got the measles at 10. It happens. Shit mutates, man.
Exactly. But it goes back to the argument, and you said it, and I've watched Herm prove it time and time again with some of the guys on the group chat for Speedway. He goes, okay, now that you've told us how you feel, tell us the fact.
Right.
Don't bore me with I think. Tell me what you know.
Don't conflate the argument with how you're feeling.
Right.
I may not with some facts.
I may not agree with a lot of things, and Herm said it best earlier. I may not agree with abortion at a certain stage. I can't stop you, and I will not stop you.
No.
I don't hide behind freedom. I will stand beside you and defend your right. It doesn't mean I have to like it.
Right. And another argument that I always get a kick out of is, well, where's your sociology degree? Where's your criminology degree? And Charlie Kirk always goes, I can read a book.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you read a book doesn't make you an expert. It doesn't make me an expert. It just means I studied. Having a piece of paper that says you read a lot of books really doesn't mean anything. I ask people I would ask somebody to poll 50 people. Now those 50 people, they have to be college graduates. And did they get a job in their chosen major? I guarantee you more than 60% of those people will say, yes, I have a college degree, and no, I did not. Having a college degree, it's a scam. It shows you can learn and you study and you're accepting of new thought. Doesn't mean you're good at it.
I think in certain places, look, because I point to, people like Herm who went to culinary school. It's a practical application, and he uses that every single day of his life. I also know people who went to law school and became, I don't know, a teacher in the 5th grade.
Well, and that's just my point, Chris, is that guys like Herm and guys like who go to technical school and learn a vocation, it's useful. It's applied every day. Herm tests his metal every day when he throws a new dish out for consumption. And everybody loves it. That's what culinary people do. And there's a Mike Rowe has I can't remember the name of his podcast, and it's a YouTube podcast. And he always argues the same thing. We have lost the blue collar worker because kids are brainwashed into, if you don't go to a 4-year school, you're not going to make any money. There's guys out there who went to a 2-year trade school, learned their trade, be it welding, be it electrical, HVAC, that are making $200,000 a year working a little bit of overtime. Okay? And guess what? They don't have debt by the time they're 50. All of their colleges, all their schooling's paid off. Because trade school is a lot cheaper than going to a university. Tuition-wise. There are some vocations where you have to invest a lot of money into your tools. But if you wanted to become a mechanic, you're going to buy your own tools. You want to become a welder, you're going to buy your own welding machine and your own plasma cutters and all that shit. You're investing in yourself. And you be on the job 5 years, you're debt-free and you're on the positive side. You're stashing away money. We've lost that worker. And my wife, the company she recruits for, cannot find engineers. Nobody wants to go to school for that because who's going to make money? They make good fucking money. There's opportunities out there. But we've become so brainwashed over the last 40 years that you have to go to a 4-year school or you're not going to amount to anything.
You show me the guy with calluses on his hands, and I'll show you a guy who makes good money because he is putting his skills to work every single day. But we also have a generation of people right now, and I am going to draw a line in the sand. I'll use 30 as the benchmark, who are working dead-end jobs and thinking, well, my job should pay a livable wage. That's not what a fry cook at McDonald's is supposed to be. You know, if you're a single mother and you work the mom hours, Herm and I worked with 1 million of those ladies. That's a supplemental income. That's not. You can have a career with McDonald's. You can have a career with any job, whether it's, you know, whether you think it's low end, dead end, what have you, or you can stay washing lettuce and think you should be paid $40 an hour.
Well, there are opportunities within those fast food franchises, and a lot of management pays great, and the hours are reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. If like all these people who lost jobs during COVID or post-COVID when all their businesses failed, those are the people I feel most horribly about, because I know so many small businesses and eateries that opened and closed during COVID. These people are now working jobs like that because it's kind of food related, and it's just a stepping stone to get to the next plateau. That's what those jobs were built for. They're for children in high school and college paying their way through to learn a little bit of a work ethic. When can you get a job at 14 or 15 with working papers now, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Start working at 14, 15 years old to have a paper route. Well, you're not really anymore. You're delivering
not anymore. No,
you're delivering 2 papers a day in your neighborhood if you're lucky.
Maybe
that's how I did a paper route. Started it when I was 12 years old. Had it till I was 17. I made good money.
Yep, I would wake up, deliver papers, go to school, and then come back, and Herm and I would go sling burgers.
I would get. It used to be the day would deliver in the morning when my route first started. That was kind of rough. But then the day changed to an afternoon publication, and then they changed back to days because Sundays sucked because you had to stuff all the papers and make multiple trips back to your paper drop. But I made decent money. I always had money in my pocket at 15, 16 years old.
That's right. Well, all my buddies were trying to hit up their mom and dad, and you know, the guys like us that were out there busting our hump, we had cash in our pocket.
Yeah, and I worked at the marina when I was 14, 15 with my dad. During the summers, my ass was at Spicer's Marina, getting rental boats ready, boxing up bait, pumping gas. I didn't care. I was a teenager getting paid to get a suntan. What greater, and hot chicks walking all over the marina. What better job could I have between the months of June and September before we went back to school? Awesome job.
Pimp. That'd be about the only job that could be that was pimp.
Give it everything you got and do it in the butt.
Do it in the butt. The last thing I want to say in regard to these crazy college students and whatnot, and whether or not they're fighting for the right thing or the wrong thing, these are the same people. And I think we touched on it a couple weeks ago. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Where they say that the 5-day-a-week, 40-hour work week is garbage and we should eliminate it. And when you bring up to them, well, that's the industry. That's like the world standard right now for, you know, this is your full-time gig, because it used to be a 6-day-a-week, 10-hour a day,
or 7-day a week.
Bingo. Look at guys that run farms. You want? Oh yeah.
I was just going to say agriculture.
Yep.
I grew up with a lot of farm kids that lived in Ledyard, Preston, Groton. Yeah. Those kids were up at 3 a.m. at school at 7:30.
But if I hear one more person, like, I don't have a work-life balance, so I don't make a livable wage. A livable wage is tougher, but it's not. Apply yourself, put your word out there, put your name out there, just do something instead of bitch. Second, if you don't like the 5-day work week and you think it sucks, go back and do what the forefathers did before us. Henry Ford instituted the 5-day, 40-hour work week. Boo this man. No, you should be kissing his fucking dead ass. That's what you should be doing.
And you know why he came up with an 8-hour day?
I do not.
It's perfectly segmented throughout the day that you're getting equal time for rest,
sleep, and activities.
And activities. What's 8 times 3?
Right.
24.
24. So you split your day into thirds. I mean, he's a fucking genius for that. He actually thought about the people that work for him and said, what's the best way to make this fair? Okay, 24 hours a day. If I divide that by 3, that's perfect. They get 8 hours to get sleep and eat, wake up and come into work for 8 hours. And it's just a lather, rinse, repeat every day for 5 days. Because, you know, if he did the calculations, they can live on that with what I'm paying them.
I find it funny, and I don't know why this just popped into my head, but it did. The same people that bitch about the 40-hour work week, like you said, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, it's a third of your day, don't seem to bitch about the 8 hours you spend sleeping. They don't seem to bitch like, well, you could cut yourself short by an hour or two, like if you wanted to do something bad enough, and we've all done it.
There's been there were days I would go.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
There were days that I showed up at the casino for grave shift. I got no sleep. That's a choice I made. Did I suffer? Fucking right, I suffered. But I got good sleep the next day, and it was worth it to me because I got to do something I wanted to do. So you make sacrifices.
Exactly.
Nobody's willing to sacrifice nothing now.
But I don't know. I'm sure we've all done it. You know, you got a trip planned, or I can just think back to going to Yankee Stadium a couple years ago. 2.5, 3 hour ride. The game's at 1, which means you have to leave your house at 6:30, 7 o'clock to get into the Bronx at 9:30 to find a parking spot. And then, you know, if it's opening day, like when we went, you have 54,000 other idiots right there with you, asshole to elbow on 161st Street, you know, but you make the sacrifice. You get up a little earlier. When you get home that night, you go to bed a little earlier. But, well, no, we can't have that. That's on you. That's not on me. I'm losing my taste for stupidity. Not that I ever had one.
Well, but and you just said something that is key. Go ahead, Herm.
It seems to be a lack of looking forward enough.
Bingo.
When I was 25, I worked 100-hour weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked 100-hour weeks when I was 25 because my body could do it. And I was making the money as much as I could while my body was able to do that. And the problem is they don't see putting in the work. They're all grasshoppers.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them are, and they're not ants. They only see the now. Winter's coming, and you're young, but guys, you're not going to be young forever. And that was something that my father always drilled into me. Do it while you can, because someday you won't be able to.
When I was 25, I worked 3 jobs. 2 of which were almost full. One was full time. One was almost full time, and I had a side gig.
Yeah, I mean, I was 19 years old, 19, and I was working a full-time job and a job on the weekends. And I'd get up Friday morning and wouldn't go to bed until noon on Sunday because the 2 jobs, that's how the jobs worked. So I'd be awake for 3 days, 2 days straight, whatever the hell it is, 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Just, yeah, because I could. My body could take it.
There was a period. Go ahead.
That ties into what the point I was going to bring up is that you said work-life balance. Now, that is very important to me when making a consideration for a job. Now, as you guys know, I worked for AutoZone last year for a hot couple months.
Yeah, you were there for about 35 minutes.
And throughout the entire interview process, I said, just remember, my biggest caveat to any job is a proven work-life balance, where you understand that I have a life outside of here, but I also understand that for the scheduled amount of time, my ass is yours. That's all. We would need to mutually respect that. Oh, yeah. No problem. First 3 months goes by, gets worse and worse and worse. And when called to the carpet, my boss said, "No, we never said that. No, you have to work. You have to work 14-hour days." I said, "Where's work-life balance in that? That gives me almost zero time for my other 2/3 of the day." And that's when I said, "Fuck you." Now my job, I know I have an expected routine. I don't like unexpected surprises or being told, "Oh, by the way, guess what? You're not leaving at 5 o'clock today. You have to stay and count all the fucking widgets in the back room tonight because I'm telling you to. Because I'm telling you to." No, fuck you. We signed a contract. I'm keeping my end of the bargain up. You're not keeping your end of the bargain up.
There was a time where I was working 2 jobs, but I made sure that my days off were the same at both jobs so I could rest and do 16-hour days, 5 days a week. There was also a time when I stopped doing 2 jobs and I was just doing the one. If you remember at the casino for a time, we were doing certain departments are doing 4 12-hour days.
Yes.
Which I loved.
Coin did that. Cage did that.
Yep.
You guys did that.
GC did that. They had toyed with it in the retail department when I transferred. But no, you give me 4 days on and 3 days off. Oh, you can beat me like a government mule for 4 days. No problem. And I was the first guy if someone needed, and I was just married. Emma had just arrived by Greyhound, of course. And somebody would say, "Hey, I need to stay off," and no one will switch. I'll take it. I just tell Stephanie, I'm doing 5 days this week, 12 hours. She goes, when is that day? I think the days I had off were Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm like, well, I'm going to work Tuesday for so-and-so. She goes, okay, Tuesday's good as long as you're here on Sunday. Because that was her. She had Saturday, Sunday off. I had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We had the 1 day off together. To me, more than enough. Well, absolutely more than enough.
That's how Megan and I worked it out when we worked at the casino opposite shifts. We made sure we had the same days off. I fucking hate Grave, and then it almost. That was weird. I lost you both. I hated Grave. It almost killed me.
Ugh.
And when they said you need to medically get off a Grave shift, it was either look for another job or beg. And they were already in the works of shit canning the day shift manager. So I got that spot in 2007.
Okay. Well, I think we have beaten this horse as far as we're going to beat it today.
Yeah. I mean,
but you guys, all 3 of us, I think, made some pretty solid points. They're good talking points. Whether or not anyone's actually going to employ those into everyday life, like Herm said weeks ago, and I can't agree with him more. Critical thinking isn't following the buzzwords. It's actually putting thought into the matter and looking into not only the facts but the nuances of these things. That's critical thinking. Critical thinking isn't what people say it is nowadays. Common sense should be a damn superpower now because only few of us still have it.
Yeah, well, it's just so easy to just be ignorant, Chris. You know that.
That was the point I was going to make earlier, and it was a one-liner, and I was going to stop there, but the discussion kept going, and it's really good. I'm paraphrasing from the movie Major League 2, where they ask him about his teammates. So I'm going to take the team out of it, and I'm going to put these critical thinkers, they're stupid, either by birth or by choice. There's no other way to get around it.
Because it's, like I said, it's easier to just not pay attention and not give a shit and just be, ignorant to everything going on around them.
You can paint the wall or you can think about painting the wall. One of them is going to take work and may brighten up your room. The other one is just simply bitching to hear yourself bitch.
Oh, talking to hear yourself talk. I'm a procrastinator. I'll admit it.
No, not you.
I procrastinate till the last fucking minute sometimes. But I get shit done.
I was going to say, you do.
I get shit done. I mean,
Megan, he said he'd do it. You don't have to bug him every 6 months.
Yeah. Like at work, I'll drag my ass a little bit to keep myself busy through the day. Because the worst thing you want to do is get everything done and then be like, ooh, dude,
right,
twiddling your fucking thumbs.
Yeah, 6 hours of your thumb up your ass.
Yeah, especially in a small office where you can't help but see the other two people that you work with.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to look busy. I am busy. I don't have to look it. I am busy. I got a lot of shit to do.
Not all of us can work in an environment, and I praise you a lot, Herm, is that you are going constantly. And if you do get a half a moment to enjoy yourself, I hope you are taking the biggest dump ever and getting paid for it.
I don't poop at work.
I'm sorry to hear that. Hell yeah.
I do.
It's the best place to drop.
It's just the way it's always been the way my shit clock works.
My shit clock.
It's poop o'clock, man. 8:30, 8:39, sometimes 9:30. But it's always within the first couple hours of the day. And then
I cannot unhear that.
My shit clock.
My shit clock.
Poop clock. Poop clock's ticking.
What is wrong with these children?
Then there's the unannounced visitors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the door-to-door salesman selling poop.
There you go.
Excuse me, you have to go now. Okay.
Trust me, diverticulitis has taken me down a whole new road of I don't have a shit clock. I just have a meter.
Yeah. Goes from like this to
yeah. I go from 0 to shitty in about 8 seconds, depending on the day.
Yeah. Diverticulitis sucks.
I did want to talk to you guys about the film I saw the other night.
Yes.
Civil War. Fantastic movie. It was not what I expected, and I don't want to give spoilers away. Should you boys want to see it at some point, or anyone out there wants to see it at some point, I'll give you like a brief synopsis. It was less about the war, and it was more about the photojournalists that were going from New York to Washington, D.C. to interview the president. The war scenes were really good. Some of them were really frightening. Some of them were downright disgusting. But it kind of, in my opinion, and I've watched the documentaries of the things that have gone on in Afghanistan or Iraq, and you see what a war-torn country looks like. For them to make I-95 through Virginia look like Afghanistan with burned-out cars and bodies strewn everywhere and helicopters flying overhead. One particular scene that really got me is they're outside of DC, right outside the Beltway. We're going to go in the morning, and you're watching the night rounds as they glow hot in the air, and the helicopters and the bombs, and in the background you see the Washington Monument, and you're like, motherfucker. The visuals were fantastic. Some of the casting I did not think was that good. Kirsten Dunst did a great job. Jesse Plemons, who seems to have found his niche as playing every white asshole ever. If you ever saw Black Mass, he was Kevin Weeks, the guy with the big jaw.
I like him. I like him a lot.
He's fantastic.
I like him a lot.
I can't remember the black guy's name, but he was in just about everything I've ever seen in the last 10 years.
He was just in Dune 2.
Okay. So you had a really good blend of main characters. The story, again, I went into this thinking this was going to be like not a Rambo movie, but more along the lines of, the old school war movies.
That's what I was going to ask you, Chris. What was your expectation?
My expectation was a war movie.
More so the war zone than the story behind the war zone.
What I got, which made me excited when I left the theater, was this was more cerebral than I thought it was going to be. Because you give me a movie that makes me think, I'm in. I'm hooked. Done and done. Of course, then again, there are days I'll watch The Hangover where you don't have to think.
Turn your brain off.
But it's a good balance, right? It just, like you said, shut the world down, shut your brain off, and laugh at Zach Galifianakis for 2 hours.
Yeah.
The one problem I had with this entire film was the casting of the President of the United States.
Why didn't you like Ron Swanson as, or Nick Offerman rather, as the president?
Because the minute you see him, all you think
is Ron Swanson.
Or when he was the DEA cop in We're the Millers.
Yes.
And I'm like, you had this wide array of actors. I'm sure you tried out a bazillion people and you went with him. This would be akin to, and let me dig back deep into our cinematic lives. If they made this movie 30 years ago and they casted Andrew Dice Clay as the President of the United States.
Yeah. All you're going to see is his stand-up routine.
Right? If the photojournalist was played by Pauly Shore, you can't see past this. And that's the one thing that took me out of this movie. It cost it, the 5-star rating. I gave it 3.
Did you watch The Last of Us?
I did.
I can't say I did.
He was fantastic in that.
So now, if you've watched The Last of Us, you have another reference. And that movie that you have the problem with personally because you only visualize it, you're literally dealing with it's kind of like psychoacoustics. You're hearing shit that isn't there because your brain is making up the bottom end.
You're not wrong.
But if you watch him and play the role, you totally see how he can do a completely serious role.
Okay.
And how he took it. That one episode for The Last of Us was amazing for him doing a really serious role. You totally forgot. You watch that and you will totally forget that he is Ron Swanson, bro. You're totally like, it's gone. When you first see it, you're like, oh, here we go. And then immediately, his character is not that.
And that's something that my wife pointed out.
Amazing job.
My wife pointed out this.
Change your mind after watching that episode about Civil War. I'll bet money on it.
Okay. Yeah.
And my wife made that really abundantly clear. The minute he opened his mouth and started talking as that character, you saw a completely different person.
Right. You didn't know he was gay, but you knew he was somebody totally different, and this was not your normal
not your normal performance.
You're not your normal Offerman performance.
He transformed. It was a heartbreaking episode.
I'm going to equate it to this. Everybody, unless you're like a super versatile actor that can do just about anything, you always, in my mind, and a lot of people that I know do the same thing. I do it sometimes, and I did it here with Nick Offerman. It's that first role you see them in that sticks in your mind until you see them grow and do other things. Robin fucking Williams was Mork until
that's
Dead Poets.
That's my issue with Bob's Burgers. Is when I watch Bob's Burgers, all I hear is Archer.
Because it's the same dude. It's the same dude. It's the same voice.
Same dude.
Archer's just a little different.
There's no lisp. Yeah. Bob's Burgers has the lisp.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's the same voice. And all I could see when I first started, it was like, it's fucking Archer, bro.
I fucking love Archer.
And it's the same thing.
I like Bob's Burgers too.
When somebody, you guys told me about it first, and then somebody at work was watching it, Tulsa King.
Excellent.
And I hadn't heard about it from you guys yet. I heard it from the guy at work, and I said, Tulsa King, I haven't heard about it. Who's in it? He goes, it stars Rocky and a couple. I'm like, Rocky who? I'm thinking The Rock. He goes, no, Sylvester Stallone. You get pigeonholed. Much like if Zach Galifianakis did a serious role, you'd probably look back and you'd see either Between Two Ferns or The Hangover or what have you. You're not going to see what he's offering. The same could go for Dustin Hoffman. The first thing I ever saw him in was the adaptation of Death of a Salesman. So Willie Loman was right there, but then you see Marathon Man, you see fuck was the other one? The Graduate, Rain Man.
That was my first exposure was a Graduate.
When I introduced Emma to Rain Man, and she saw Dustin Hoffman on the screen for the first time, she goes, "That's the dad from the Fockers." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm not going to like this." I'm like, "Watch the movie." And she loved it. I'm like, "That's what acting is. You want to make me believe that what you're putting out on the screen is really you." But again, it took me out of it because I don't have the scope of reference. And Herm is entirely right on Nick Offerman, and I pigeonholed. I truly, and I'm not going to.
I'm tendency to do it. We all have a tendency to do it.
Yeah. The first time you saw Will Smith in a serious acting role, all you saw was, Yo Holmes to Bel Air. But then he proved himself.
And then he fucked his career.
Yeah. Same thing with Bradley Cooper. Whatever your first vision of Bradley Cooper was, and then he comes out with these fantastic movies like A-Team or The Maestro or Silver Lining Playbook, this guy's got the chops. He can do anything. And in talking about this, it brings up the new movie coming out that I saw the trailer for. It is I don't know what a reboot, a retake, a remake of the 80s TV show The Fall Guy.
Well,
Ryan Gosling,
a reimagining.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling is so damn versatile. The first thing I ever saw him in was that silly ass Notebook. So he's always going to be that cheesy country boy character. But the more I see of Ryan Gosling, the more I like his work. And
I like his work. I'm just saying I don't know if he's the best choice. And I'm not saying that because he doesn't do amazing work. He runs the gambit. But I guess as somebody who grew up watching the television show and the character that this role is based off of, I don't see him as the same person. I don't know. I don't see him as the best choice to be to play a role that was held by Lee Majors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll agree to that.
I don't think of rough and ready tough guy when I think Ryan Gosling, and that's where Lee Majors was. He was so many westerns. He was the $6 million fucking man, bro.
I can use two movies, same name, two different actors who I thought they were kind of, little Marys in everything I've ever seen them in before. But Patrick Swayze and Jake Gyllenhaal changed my mind, both in a movie called Roadhouse. Separately, 30 years apart. But they both knocked it out of the park. You believed Patrick Swayze was a tough guy. You believed Jake Gyllenhaal was a badass. You believed because they made you believe.
Have you either of you seen the movie Driver with Jake Gyllenhaal? I mean, Ryan Gosling.
Can't say that I have.
Okay, that role in that movie convinced me that he can act, and he is a badass in that movie. I think it's his best performance thus far in his career, and it was very overlooked. Critically, that movie is like very critically lauded.
I'll look it up.
It did okay at the box office. It was
that's Driver. When he was robbing banks on motorcycles and shit, right?
Yeah, and
he ends up dying, and
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
thanks for ruining it.
No,
well, no, that's not even, that doesn't even give shit away. That's the fucked up part.
Okay,
yeah, but I mean, he's been in some really good movies. He's impressed me pretty much. I like The Notebook, but I didn't see that first. I don't remember what I saw him in, but I was like, this kid's pretty good. And Bradley Cooper, I made my wife watch Wedding Crashers to prove that he was in that movie the other night.
How can you forget he was Sack?
She's only seen that movie once, and when it first came out, she completely forgot. She's like, "Holy shit, look how
Oh,
different he looks." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah," and he's a great fucking actor.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I do too.
While we're on the subject, an actor that I didn't exactly pigeonhole, but you see how versatile he is, and the wide array of roles that he's played to convince you. I got
Easy
two
for you
names.
to say.
One is Christian Bale,
Yep.
and the other, strangely enough, who I despise him, but I can't turn away when he makes a movie because they're just so damn good, and he's so damn good. I hate liking him, Leonardo DiCaprio.
I don't have a problem with Leo. Leo is unapologetically Leo. I mean, he lives his life the way he wants. Good on him, man. Good on him.
That's
My
not what
girlfriend's
bothers me.
My man, girl's 25 now. See ya.
Rock
What
and roll.
bothers you? What bothers you about Leo?
His what is the line from Step Brothers? I don't like your face. I don't know what it is about it, but I don't like your face. You better change it because I just don't like your face. It's just that there's something about him that when I see a picture of him, it comes off as smarmy, but boy can act his ass off, and I can't turn away from the movies that he is in. And whether it's Gilbert Grape or The Wolf of Wall Street, I'll even throw Titanic into this. He makes you believe. Oh Christ, what was I liked him? I liked him the
Revenant.
most. Yes, but the one I liked him the most in was The Departed.
That to me, that is his greatest performance. Like that's the top of the pyramid for him. And I judge everything else that I've watched previously and now to that role because
Departed.
Yeah, he was.
I think the Revenant totally beats that. The not only the physicality of that role.
This is true. This is true.
was
I've only seen that movie once.
Insane. What he physically had to endure just to make that movie was crazy.
Mm-hmm. And another one that I didn't think of, and I think Herm just sparked a memory. Shutter Island.
Yeah, great movie. Great twist.
You think you've got it all figured out, and then it takes a fucking right-hand turn at the end. There's so many movies like that, but he had you just right there. You could not look away.
One of the greatest performances I remember, like, within the last 20 years, that I think it was the first time I was ever in awe of someone on the screen, was the opening 10, 12 minutes of the second Batman movie with Heath Ledger as the Joker. The minute he came on screen with the mask on, until that sequence is over.
When he took the mask off in the bank,
I was in awe. Like I had pins and needles, and my hair was thin. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. You completely fucking believed that he was this character. Like it's just he wakes up every day like that, and he's woken up every day like that since the day he was born.
The two scenes in that movie that made me really, just like you said, you get the goose pimples on your arm, is the 2 or 3 scenes where he tells you, "Do you know how I got these scars?" And then he walks you through this story, and
it's always a little different.
You're transfixed, but you can hear his pain coming out, the character's pain coming out. Going back to your scene, that first 10, 12 minutes where they're breaking into the bank. This one shoots this one, and this one shoots this one. 2 stand alone. And he turns around and says, "I'm betting the boss told you to shoot me." No. I shoot the bus driver. The bus driver, and then the bus barrels through, knocks this guy half silly, and let's go. They load up the money. He shoots the bus driver, and then he's gone. But that's when he takes the mask off, the bank manager, who has been in everything.
Yeah,
I don't even know his name. I always call him Captain Knauer because that was The Longest Yard.
Yeah.
You know, he gives that speech. Oh, criminals used to have respect and dignity. What do you believe in? And he looked him dead in the eye, and that line just, back of my neck.
Mm-hmm.
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger. And that was it. He didn't have to give a 4-minute soliloquy. He said 8 to 10 words. I'm out the door. You are now right there.
The other bit of brilliant acting in that is when he's trying to blow up the hospital and he's doing this with the clicker.
Yep.
That was an accident, but he played it so convincingly in character that Chris Nolan said, no, that's staying in the fucking movie.
Mhm.
That's fucking brilliant. And that was an accident. When he squeezed that trigger the first time, it was supposed to, there was somebody else actually hitting the button, and he was hitting the button and it wasn't working, and they left it in. That's fucking brilliant. That's what acting is all about.
Yep. The scene in the interrogation room
Another
where he's sitting on the floor and he wants his phone call, and the cop's giving him shit. And he goes, "How many of your friends have I killed?" He's I'm a 20-year man.
Yeah.
I'm stronger than this.
There's very few moments. There's very few moments in that movie that are bad.
Right? He says, "You killed 6 of my friends," and he just did that silent 6.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. But the pigeonholing thing is real. I do it all the time I do it with certain actors all the fucking time. Like now, my first introduction to Burt Reynolds was Smokey and the Bandit. That's the first time I ever saw Burt Reynolds ever in my life. Then every movie thereafter, he was always the bandit. Deliverance. Mm-hmm. He's in a cowboy hat.
I saw him in stuff before that.
No, I see. Maybe I did because my dad was a big fan of that movie. Later,
the Longest Yard.
He loved that movie.
There was a couple of movies where he was before the mustache. These were all before the mustache movies, and I remember him in movies with my dad when I was little. But Smokey and the Bandit was the first time that like it was good. What was the other movie? Him and what was it? There's another movie where he was a stuntman.
Oh yes, yeah, and it's a fantastic fucking movie. Sally Field, directed by Hal Needham.
Yeah, was it Jan Michael Vincent is the young
stunt driver.
The young stunt driver, and
hang on, now you got my brain fucking all fucked up.
Yeah,
the Google machine will help you, Lynch.
Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
One of my favorite roles later in his career was Boogie Nights.
Yes,
and his best performance ever, as far as like just playing it serious. You knew it was Burt Reynolds, but it was a different version of Burt Reynolds that you really never saw before. That smarmy, sleazy kind of. You believed he could be that dirtbag,
right? I prefer to remember Burt Reynolds from Celebrity Jeopardy.
Terry Ferguson. It's a funny name.
Look what I found backstage. It's a big hat. It's funny. Did you ever hear the story Norm Macdonald told about when Burt Reynolds saw that? And there was some backstage cameras going on, and they were talking to a bunch of people, and Burt Reynolds was there, and he goes, I don't really talk like that. I really don't know why you're going to portray me like that. So they're doing their bit, and they're talking. He really likes Norm Macdonald's work, God rest his soul, both of them. And later on, somebody came back, and they had spliced. Here's one side with Burt Reynolds talking to Norm Macdonald. And on the other side is Norm Macdonald as Burt Reynolds. And Burt Reynolds was, I believe the quote was, "Well, goddamn, I do sound like that." Yeah, it doesn't sound like me. Like, what's his name? Jim Brewer doing his Joe Pesci impression. And Pesci's like, "Yeah, I don't like the way you do me. I don't sound like that." Yes, Mr. Pesci. No, not yet, Mr. Pesci. You're going to stop doing this bit. Yeah, yes, Mr. No.
And that's another one that, because of Goodfellas, everything I saw after that, he was either My Cousin Vinny or Goodfellas to me.
I was late to the game.
So we had all seen Joe Pesci. We just didn't know we saw Joe Pesci because he was a completely different kind of character actor at the time. He was in Raging Bull in 1980.
Never saw it until late.
Easy Money. different kind of character. He was in a lot of. He was a bit actor in the 60s and 70s.
Mhm.
He actually started his career as a musician.
I've heard that.
Yeah, he's a very
But
accomplished.
the role I
very
saw
accomplished.
first was Leo Getz, Lethal
But
Weapon.
oh no, see, I remember him for Easy Money and a little bit further back than that.
So,
but that is a great role.
Yeah, I hated it. He just grated on me. There's very few Pesci movies that I can watch
that's the point.
I can stomach. But
the
I
movie,
always pigeonholing Leo Getz. So
Yeah,
when
definitely.
Goodfellas comes out, when My Cousin Vinny comes out, when Casino comes out, that's when I was like, maybe I should give him a little bit more of a shot. And then he puts out turds like Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag and Gone Fishing.
Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag was a funny movie. It's just very strange.
It was an ass sandwich.
I found it funny. Hooper is the movie you're thinking of, Herm, with James Michael Vincent.
Thank you.
Yes!
Thank you very much.
And I'm going through his Wikipedia filmography.
Mhm.
The man has starred in 145 feature films, 13 television films, television series 9, and he's been on stage in the theater once. But you go back in his career, starting with like just before Deliverance, he was in a couple decent movies. Fuzz,
Yep.
Navajo Joe.
Yep.
No shit.
Back in the 60s. And then after Deliverance is when the gates just open. He was in everything from Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask by Woody Allen.
Yep.
The Man Who Loved Cat Dancing, White Lightning, The Longest Yard. This is all within a 3-year period. At Long Last, Hustle, Gator, Smoking the Bandit, I mean, just holy shit. And it just deep into the late 1980s. And then that's when his career just kind of went. I mean, like All Dogs Go to Heaven, Rent-A-Cop, Malone, movies that you just what? But
those are the movies you pick at Blockbuster when the movies you wanted were not in.
The Senator and Striptease.
Oh,
yeah. When you want to see Burt Reynolds, but Cannonball Run's not in.
Right. Well, we wanted a Burt Reynolds film.
Cannonball Run is the greatest movie ever fucking made.
I don't know about that. I'm going to stick with the old go-to, and Lynch can. I think I know Lynch's answer, but to me, for the versatility of the actors in the movie that I'd never seen in a role like this before, with the one possible exception of Dom DeLuise and maybe Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
Johnny Dangerously is the greatest fucking cheese movie of all time, because you already know. To me, it's The Godfather, Scarface, Wizard of Oz. Those are my Mount Rushmores. But to me, Johnny Dangerously just hit. Mary Lou Henner was a good comedy actor, but she vamped it up. Michael Keaton I'd only seen in Gung Ho, and what was the other one? Mr. Mom.
Yep.
So yeah, he was like this, unintentionally funny guy. Johnny Dangerously ramped it up. Who else was in that film? The hell is his name? Peter Boyle.
Who I've always loved.
I'd only seen him in semi-serious roles.
He was the only reason I watched everything. Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
Him and the mother.
Course. Oh yeah, Doris.
That's the only. And I liked the brother. I like Brad Garrett. He was another one that got pigeonholed.
Burt Reynolds movie where it was the racer with Ned Beatty and Dolly
Stroker Ace.
Stroker Ace.
That's another all right, just about any movie I rattled off from like 1972 until about 1986 in his career, my father owned, loved, and would watch repeatedly. He wore out the original VHS cassette of Hooper because he played it every fucking day.
Yeah, my dad had,
and he would watch it and point out technical stuff.
My dad had Cannonball Run on video and would watch that and just laugh.
My father had Cannonball Run on Beta, VHS, and Laserdisc.
Oh my Jesus!
He could fuck that thing up in 3 formats. That's how much of a Burt Reynolds fan my dad was. So Burt Reynolds is like he's that crazy uncle I don't see a lot. You know what I mean? In my family. So Bert's close to my heart.
That's awesome.
Even though he's an asshole in real life, or was.
Was.
an asshole in real life, allegedly.
No, shit happens. Life goes on, right?
Right.
You know what? Doesn't affect me at all. I like him. I mean, I still like Kevin Spacey. I like watching him because he's an amazing fucking actor.
Has he been convicted?
No.
Okay. So it's still allegedly.
Right. And one of the cases I think that was overseas in London, basically they punched all the holes in that bag and they couldn't back up their story.
Okay.
Another one stateside is falling apart like that. All right, I'm going to say this, and people, if you watch, I don't know, I don't think anybody's watching now, but you go back and listen to this. Don't take this the wrong way. He was an unfortunate, personal belief, an unfortunate target of the Me Too movement. Could he be capable of things like that? I could see it in him. But I think a very large majority of these incidents were reciprocal in nature. And maybe the one time that maybe he went a little too far may have been the one that blew the first whistle, and he just got fucking gang piled on. Anybody who ever worked with him, oh yeah, he was very inappropriate. Oh yeah, all the time, but with no story to tell.
Right.
Is he getting his due process? Yes.
Let the courts decide.
If he comes out on the other side smelling like a rose, this is going to affect him for the rest of his career.
Of course it will, until he does that one breakout comeback role that puts him right back where he should be.
Look at John Travolta. Was nothing until Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, he spent
nothing, and he was fantastic in that.
He made so many bad movies over a 10-year run. If you've ever seen Blowout, worst fucking movie ever. Garbage.
The intent with that movie was great. Brian De Palma directed the shit out of it, but it doesn't compare to the original Italian.
I'll just rattle off some stinkers that he did once he got to be super huge, and then it seemed like he took every role that the newspaper was advertising. Staying Alive, perfect. Blowout. Look Who's Talking. Do we want to keep going down and down and down and down? And then between Pulp Fiction and what was the other one? Broken Arrow
and Face Off.
Face Off. Fantastic.
That kind of cemented his that Face Off. Pulp Fiction started his comeback, and Face Off and Broken Arrow cemented his comeback.
John Travolta, and I've said this about this movie for years, John Travolta played Nicolas Cage better than Nicolas Cage could ever play Nicolas Cage.
Yes, and he had.
See, I thought it was vice versa. I thought Nicolas Cage did a much better Travolta than Travolta did a Nicolas Cage.
Okay, fair enough.
No, Nicolas Cage was really good at the nuances of John Travolta's speech cadence, his facial tics and stuff like that. He thought it was a better Travolta than Travolta.
Okay, fair enough.
I will have to tend to agree with Herm.
We'll have to do a watch along movie night sometime and either be on video chat or on the phone and rewatch that film. But going back to your Kevin Spacey point, because it clicked in my head, what's going on with him reminds me of a song that I heard years and years ago, and it just keeps popping in my head. And the song goes, allegedly, you wanted joy, so you touched a boy, allegedly.
Boom. He's here all week, folks. Try to veal.
Anytime I can throw the Bee Gees in there for you. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I smell dinner. I don't know what.
No, that was me. I farted.
Oh, it smells delicious.
Made it through the whole episode without a gurgle. So thank you to the makers of Pepto-Bismol for curing my problem today. Although
today's show sponsor, Pepto-Bismol and Charmin.
Can't do anything about the seasonal allergies, though. Nothing works. We'll talk to you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have Marsh back. We'll come up with something fun. I had fun tonight. Thank you, both of you.
Yeah, thank you. It was good. Tight. Nice and tight.
And for all of you out there, For all of you out there, please help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody. I don't care what anybody says. Mike Myers peaked with "So I Married an Axe Murderer."
He's pretty good. 54.